Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm a psychology student from Germany, and in this podcast I'll be talking to you about schizophrenia. At first, what is schizophrenia? It is a psychotic disorder characterized by disturbances in thought, emotion, and behavior. The disease has various forms of appearances, like the disorganized, the catatonic, or the paranoid schizophrenia. But actually, diagnosing the subtypes is very difficult, and its utility is often questioned. Therefore, symptoms get divided into two categories called positive and negative symptoms. Positive symptoms are for the most part acute episodes like excesses, which are characterized by delusions and hallucinations. So start with delusions. Those are beliefs held contrary to reality, or in other words, those people held beliefs that aren't really true. Persecutory delusions were found in 65% of the people diagnosed, but delusions may also take several other forms, as well as thought insertion, where a person may believe that thoughts are not his or her own, thought broadcasting, where a person may believe that others know what he or she is thinking, or a person might have grandiose delusions, in which a person has an exaggerated sense of his or her own importance. Another positive symptom is hallucination, which describes experiences in the absence of any relevant happenings, or in other words, those patients see or hear things that aren't really there, like hearing their own thoughts spoken by another voice or hearing someone commending their behavior. Now let's switch to the negative symptoms, which consist of behavioral deficits. Symptoms include avolition, which refers to a lack of motivation in usually routine activities but also in hobbies. Allergia refers to a reduction of the amount of speech. Anhedonia is the loss of interest in experiencing something fun. Flat affect, which means that it's hard to identify whether this person is happy or sad. And asociality, which means that they have very little interest in generally being with others. Now, a psychological approach to schizophrenia. Psychologists are always interested in the origins of a disease, but often there are many ways of understanding where specific symptoms or even a breakout comes from. One approach is dealing with the idea that psychological stress plays a big role to produce schizophrenia, especially in people who tend to have a genetic component of getting this illness. Few theories underlie this approach and are involved in finding the reason why schizophrenia and a low economic status are connected. The sociogenic hypothesis believes that the psychological stress experienced by people of lower levels of education, like electrovisibidinities, increases the likelihood of developing a schizophrenia. In contrary, the social selection theory reverses the direction of causality. It says that people who start getting schizophrenia drift into poor neighborhoods as their illness impairs them to afford the living standard elsewhere. Studies of psychological research tend to favor the social selection theory more than the sociogenic hypothesis. My next question tries to answer the question how to treat schizophrenia. Although antipsychotic medication is the first line of treatment of schizophrenia, many patients choose to discontinue. This is also because of the various side effects of antipsychotics like weight gain and sexual dysfunctioning. In the study I chose, I want to outline whether cognitive therapy can be effective in treating schizophrenia in the absence of antipsychotic medication. To conduct the study, the psychological researchers had to find participants with schizophrenia who either have discontinued antipsychotic medication for at least 6 months or to have never taken them while experiencing symptoms. They measured the positive and negative symptoms with a scale before, straight after, and 15 months after they received the therapy, and they also recorded how often the patients had hallucinations, delusions, and measured their self-rated recovery and social functioning. The treatment of the study was to receive a cognitive therapy which was limited to 26 sessions and followed the principles developed by Beck. The content of the therapy was mainly helping them to generate alternative explanations and decatastrophizing their fears. The results showed that for all measures, the cognitive therapy treatment was beneficial and that 35 to 50% of the schizophrenic patients were able to reduce their positive and negative symptoms up to 50%. So what are the real-world implications of that study? Antipsychotic drugs have been widely and successfully used to treat schizophrenia, but recent efforts to change the thinking of people with schizophrenia with the cognitive therapy are showing promise as well, without using any medication. So schizophrenic patients can avoid side effects related to antipsychotics if they wish to.
Free created using Powtoon.